If you're looking for a metal building, which garage door benefits you better? Overhead doors or roll-up doors?
Let's find out.
Welcome backpack. This is Adbeel from WolfSteel Buildings and we're here with Anadela.
Hey guys, so in this video we're actually going to be talking to you guys about some major differences in garage doors. So first and foremost, what's wrong with the term garage doors?
Yeah, so garage doors is a generic term. And why do I say generic? Because garage doors is actually generic. There are many different types of garage doors. Well, at least I've seen, people call garage doors for sectional overhead doors, for roll-up doors, for sliding doors sometimes, like barn sliding doors, and even hangar doors. So for the majority of just metal buildings, the garage doors typically will be roll-up doors or sectional overhead doors.
So between those two, there's a lot of differences, and that's what we're going to be breaking down for you guys. But before we get started, Adbeel, I know you were talking to a YouTube subscriber from New York. His name is Gene. If you're watching this, Gene, thank you for some information. You were going back and forth with him. What was it that you guys were talking about, and how does it pertain to this video?
Yeah, so he was mentioning how he insulated his building. I think he did a great installation on it. But he actually has a roll-up door that is not very common, that you don't really find it common in the metal building industry. You kind of have to get it out of your own way.
Outsourced.
It's a brand of Cornell. I think the model is Thermizer. Great doors. I see them a lot in commercial applications or like in industrial applications. So there are doors that we're not going to be talking about because they are doors that you can get outside from a metal builder provider. And usually those will cost a little bit more than just a standard door.
Yeah, correct. So disclosure, the information that we will be talking about pertains only to the metal building industry, which we're in. And so it may vary, the information may vary if you're looking at things like homes, residential, industrial, commercial applications. So why don't we get into the video?
Let's go. In this video, we will determine who is the best. The best between the two garage doors of overhead and roll-up doors. But we're not just gonna say what is the best. We're gonna break it down into 6 benefits and determine which one is the best in those benefits to help you make a better choice or a better decision. And those 6 benefits are ease of delivery and installation, cost effective, space efficient, insulation, aesthetics, and maintenance and functionality.
So between the two doors that we're going to be talking to you guys about and discussing, which are roll-up doors and overhead doors, let's talk a little bit about roll-up doors, right? So roll-up doors are the standard doors that you get in the tubular metal building industry. These are the standard ones. When they say put on your quote, you're getting a garage door or anything like that, this is the door that they are offering you. These are steel coil doors that roll up into a barrel at the top of the door. These doors are typically made out of steel. Now, when we're talking about overhead doors, what are we talking a little bit about those?
Yeah, so overhead doors, or they're commonly called sectional overhead doors, are very common in residential, like homes. And those are the ones that are in panels and typically put together with hinges, and they roll or they like in the track system that usually hangs off of the roof. Trusses, the roof. So those, and then it's got the tension through a spring mechanism. So those doors are a little bit more different than roll-up doors.
So now, Adbeel, let's go back to our benefits and let's talk about our first benefit, ease of delivery and installation. Who do we think is a winner?
Without a doubt, roll-up doors. And the reason why is because of its compact nature, and it's like a one single unit. And typically those can be carried on with the project of like when you get the materials like the sheet metal, the framing structure. It's very compact, it's very easy to transport. And so a lot of times it's being transported with that material. And since it's not complicated to install, typically even the metal builders can install these doors because it's a very simple, with 1 to 3 man crew. It gets put up in like in an hour. On average, most of the doors get put up like in 45 minutes to an hour. Except if they're big.
Bigger.
Like if you got the chain hoisted doors, they might take a little bit longer. Sometimes equipment is needed to be able to raise those heavy doors from like a 14 by 14 door, 16 by 16 doors, so heavier doors. However, it still outbeats, you know, the
overhead doors.
The overhead doors.
Yeah. I think another thing that helps the roll-up doors is because, as I mentioned earlier, they are the standard doors in the industry for the metal buildings. Most of the time, anyone who we have, any of our crews that are installing it, have the experience installing these doors. So they're like, okay, overhead doors, bingo. They go in, they know roll-up doors. Yeah, thank you. They know exactly what they're doing versus the overhead doors. That's going to be a little bit different. So what's going on with the overhead doors?
Yeah, so the overhead doors, you typically have a lot of panels that you got to be putting together. If they're going to be insulated, they even weigh more. And so they're both delicate to transport. But the overhead doors, it just takes a little bit more space. It can be a lot more heavier. And then you got to hinge, you know, put them all together with hinges, put it on a track, really align, and then, you know, put the tension mechanism, which is like the springs. And that also requires like additional material that needs to be, or framing material that needs to be installed on the metal buildings where you can tie everything together. And roll-up doors are actually, you basically just put it onto the door frame and that's it. You don't need to hang it off of the roof. You don't need to do anything extra. So for that matter, it's more complex to do overhead doors, and a lot of metal builders do not do it. And if they do, one of the things that we pride ourselves in is that we like to work with our teams that specialize in one thing, because there are people that can do it, like the overhead door, but since they don't do it on a daily, they might do it once a month, maybe once every 2-3 months. They don't develop the expertise. And so ease of installations in the metal building industry, you will find that roll-up doors is a lot easier. And for that matter, it does affect the cost, which is one of the other benefits we'll be talking about.
So now we're gonna go into cost. So when we're talking about cost, benefit-wise, which do we think is better?
Or which one wins?
Which one wins? Yes.
Yeah.
Who's the winner? Who's the winner in this
Who's the winner?
case?
It's gonna be roll-up doors for most sizes. So roll-up doors are actually very cost-effective than overhead doors, especially for the following sizes. You will see that
pop up
here showing, and those are like the 8x7s, 9x7s, 10x8s. These are very standard doors. A couple reasons why. Again, the installation doesn't really take much, but also these are purchased in bulks, very large bulks. There are not a lot of customization, so that's why you can purchase in a lot of like bulks. Anything outside of those dimensions, then it doesn't get cost effective. You can be very in line right with overhead doors, and even like custom like colors, custom colors on your roll-up doors. Then the price kind of tends to go up at some times. Overhead doors probably will beat it, but we do have a chart. And that chart, you will see it showing up, and that is a comparison. You can see there are certain sizes in the overhead doors that are so common, especially because in the residential homes. 16x7s, 16x8s, those are the common size doors, and therefore you will find better deals there. But in most cases for metal buildings, you will find roll-up doors to be a lot more cost effective. And then keep in mind that overhead doors have a lot of customizations. You know, you can get it insulated, maybe different levels of insulation, windows, different designs, patterns, different colors, even different track systems. It's super customizable, and so therefore that can vary your price. But we have said that what makes a metal building stand out, if you really want to stand out in your neighborhood, you want your metal building to be a statement of your hard work, The overhead doors make a huge impact. They definitely do make a huge impact. You can really make your metal building stand out, and we're getting a lot of those clients that are getting very, very custom overhead doors. So if you're looking for a custom overhead door, show us what you envision, what you've seen out there, what you see on Google, on Pinterest. And we'll make it happen for you.
I think one thing that we also noticed, we've been out on the road visiting Brandon. Make sure to check out those videos. We also have a client named Chase coming up here shortly. All of these customers, when we're driving by like their neighborhoods or things like that, like certain neighborhoods for those newer houses, they have the custom overhead doors on their home. And so a lot of the times these clients come to us and like, hey, I want it to match my home. The pitch matches my home. I want this, this, and this. It looks so good when you're driving by, and like that's the first thing we point out. Like, yes, color a lot of the times does make a big difference, but then you're like, oh my gosh, look at that door, look at that door, look at that door. Even on a house, so it's definitely the best way for you to customize your building, which is the overhead doors.
Overhead doors.
But again, custom comes with cost. The two C's, custom cost. So for the third benefit, we're talking about space efficiency. So I think when customers are getting a metal building, they're wanting more space. So who do we think is the winner with space efficiency?
Roll-up doors, in most cases. So since roll-up doors, they roll into a coil at the top of the door opening. They are very, very space efficient. The coil headroom space typically ranges from like 18 inches to about 24 inches wide, and it's just a coil. So like from there's nothing above, nothing inside that takes away from that
space clearance.
On the other hand, overhead doors, they do swing like into the building or up to the building, so they do take a lot more of your space. The standard is inside, so they will go like this.
The track system goes into the building.
Into the building, typically about like a 90-degree. However, you can upgrade to other types of tracks, which typically called vertical tracks, high lift tracks, or follow the roof line tracks. These tracks can then be installed where they are still on the wall, depending the wall heights. They hang off more on the roof, and those tracks come at an additional cost. But then again, well, I'll actually mention from like $500 to like $2,000. Just depends on the complexity and the size of the door. But overall, yeah, for space efficient roll-up doors, they roll into a coil. They don't really take up a lot of space.
Okay, no one's keeping count here, but out of the 6 so far, roll-up doors are 3-0.
3-0.
So let's keep going to the next one and let's see what it is.
And the fourth benefit is insulation. Which door provides the best insulation?
So the winner here is actually overhead doors. Overhead doors offer better insulation compared to the roll-up doors. And that's just because of the design and also because they are tight sealed and just the construction of the door overall.
Exactly. So since they're made like into panels, it allows those panels to be constructed with insulation materials, such as like foam, which is the most common. So that's what allows it, and because they're in panels, you're able to transport it and be able to install it, and it creates a great insulation.
Better tight seal. Yeah, correct. But when we're comparing it to the roll-up doors, these roll-up doors are, as we mentioned earlier, they're made out of steel. So steel, metal, they're natural conductors. So that means it is very. I kept getting stuck with this earlier, but they're natural conductors, right? So any cold air, hot air, anything that goes onto these buildings, it's getting pushed in and out of the building very easily in comparison to the foam door, the sections that on the overhead doors that doesn't allow that. So we've had a lot of customers who actually had issues with the roll-up doors, and we're having to give them options. Do you want to keep the roll-up door? Do you want to swap it out? It's kind of very cost effective, or not very cost effective, to have to switch out the doors like they do with, because they didn't get the thermal efficiency that they wanted out of roll-up doors.
So yeah, there are insulated overhead doors, as we mentioned,
Roll-up doors.
but they're just not very common in the metal building industry. That's going to be offered to you straightforward. Maybe you will have to find it, you know, from a third party.
Outsourced.
So just keep that in mind. But yeah, so that's the reason why roll-up doors will not win this one, and we're now 3-1 for the overhead doors. Now, for overhead doors, now let's talk about the seal. So overhead doors on the perimeter have a tighter seal just based on its construction. With the weather stripping, it doesn't allow for a lot of air leakage, and that is what makes overhead doors a lot more sealed as well. So one thing is, you know, the material that doesn't allow the transfer of that thermal energy, but also the air leakage, which is extremely important.
Yeah, and the roll-up doors, again, that's kind of what makes the difference. Not only is it because of the construction in sections, but all around that WolfSteel makes a big difference. And that is also a huge downfall with the roll-up doors, because roll-up doors, Adbeel likes to refer to them, I'm sure he's probably said it in some video, as toilet paper. So the more that you use the toilet paper or the roll-up door, when you put it all the way down, the coil shrinks. So when that coil shrinks, it actually creates
I'm just, you know, showing it creates
a 2 to 4 inch gap at the top of that door where that coil is, where it's officially shrunk. So what does that do? It creates a huge opening where anything can go in and out. Air, if you are insulating.
about 2 to 4 inches.
Air, if you are insulating, any critters, birds, anything can really get in there. So it's not very common for companies to install header seals. We have it as a standard, and that is a seal that goes on top that whenever, and pretty much since Adbeel likes to do some show you guys, you're probably gonna see a picture on it, but it's pretty much a seal that the door kind of goes in and out. So it kind of makes sure that gap on top is sealed. I think another thing that also is a downfall for these doors is just around them, the coil ridges also.
The corrugation. So the steel is corrugated, and we have seen where, you know, that's where it creates air leakage. Check out one of our videos. In Bo and Maggie's, we installed a roll-up door and a steel door right next to each other. We even closed the doors. It was dark in there, and you could see where the light was coming in. Compared from an overhead door and a roll-up door. The overhead door was pretty sealed, about 95%, 96%. And then the overhead door, or the roll-up door, just had a lot of light.
See all the light come in there.
Yeah, and that's where all the air leakage definitely is coming in.
And that's just kind of, there's not really much that can be done once the overhead door or the roll-up door has been installed, unless it's completely swapped out. But again, as I mentioned, it's not cost effective to kind of take that door down, and then you have to purchase an overhead door, which, you know, kind of already mentioned the cost that comes with an overhead door. It's very not cost effective for you to get those doors switched out. So we do offer a product. Adbeel, I don't know if you want to talk to them a little bit about it. We don't fully have it yet, but we do offer it to clients. What is that product?
Yeah, so we've actually offered it on a case-by-case basis, and it was really more as a solution because originally, because a lot of our clients wanted to swap out, but when you swap out, it's very hard to really reuse that roll-up door. So we had options, and using brush seals was options, and it's actually pretty good. They're pretty effective. They really seal the perimeter of your doors. You won't find it from 99% of your metal builders will not provide it, but you could order it on Amazon, have your builder install it. And for us, if you call us and you ask that us install it, we'll make it happen. We've only done it on a case-by-case basis as of right now to help solve that situation, because we've had clients that call us, hey, these roll-up doors are extremely hot. There's a lot of heat coming in. I can't keep my metal building,
especially in Texas.
Yeah, I can't keep my metal building fresh. Cool. And those brush seals have actually done a pretty good job. So something to keep in mind and consider whether you are buying from us or not. So
we're gonna go on to the next benefit.
For aesthetics, benefit number 5, the winner is,
without a doubt, it is overhead doors. We mentioned it earlier, and we're going to touch on it a little bit more. Overhead doors are the best way for you to give a personal touch to your building. There are so many ways for you to customize these type of doors. I think roll-up doors really just the sizing and the color maybe, but with overhead doors, you get different types of finishes, the design, the material, anything from wood designs, windows, all glass doors. Those are very, very common in businesses sometimes when they're made out of metal buildings. Handles, color, everything about an overhead door can typically be customized. So that is the best way that we would say for you to honestly give a different look to your metal building.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's no more comments. Just mic
Drop.
drop. Overhead. So right now we are 3 and 2.
3 and 2 if you're keeping track. So we're going to go into the next benefit. So for our last benefit, but definitely not least, our 6th benefit is maintenance and functionality. Who is the winner with maintenance and functionality?
We're going to give it to overhead doors, but it's a tight one right there. And the reason is because we found that roll-up doors, because they have less components, they can malfunction and require maintenance very little, they last long. However, when they do break, you almost have to basically swap it out. And overhead doors, on the other hand, are very, very common. You see them everywhere. And finding someone to fix a part or repair, like a hinge, track, like the spring, those can all just easily be swapped and fixed, and you're moving on quick. And so therefore, we find that, the overhead door in that little section could be a better option. If you do plan to use your door with the garage door opener, you'll find a lot more garage door openers for garage doors. Again, it's just very common out there, like LiftMasters, Genies, they're very common. You put it on almost any single overhead door, no matter what brand of an overhead door, you can basically put them all into, and install them and fix them and repair them. For roll-up doors, they're actually starting to become more common to get a door opener, but they're not common yet.
Not enough.
And for that reason, it's just kind of hard. And sometimes I've seen that roll-up door openers can only function with certain models. And so that just makes it a little bit more complex solution for roll-up doors.
One last thing that I also want to point out for maintenance and functionality is that most roll-up doors that are 10 by 10 or smaller have the lock for the doors on the outside.
The latches.
The latches on the outside, which usually requires you to have a padlock for security of the building.
I've had a lot of clients say they don't like it.
Yeah.
That's just the standard out there. You can order special order without the latches on the outside. So again, then it becomes custom. But yeah, that's right. The latches on the outside is kind of like when you go to a storage, if you rent a storage unit, if you ever rent one, you have the latches on the outside.
Yeah, and when you have the doors that are 10 by 10 or greater, those are typically chain hoisted, and because of that, the lock is on the chain hoisted and the lock are on the inside of the building.
Yeah, it's actually greater than a 10 by 10.
Greater than a 10 by 10.
10 by 10 or smaller are the ones that have your latches on the outside. Correct. Yeah. So keep that in mind.
So overall, I think we're 3 and 3. Was it 3 and 3?
3 and 3.
3 and 3. So overall, Pack, each door has its pros and cons. We provided our opinion on the winner of each of these benefits to help you make a decision to see what's important to you. But of course, what you may need is very different from maybe someone who is getting a commercial project. If you're just getting a storage project, sometimes people are also getting residential projects, are gonna live in them. So everybody has a different use for their buildings, and that really determines what type of door is better for you.
Exactly. And then if you are watching this and you have one of the doors, like overhead, roll-up, sliding doors, whatever type of door, comment down the pros and cons of what you've experienced with your doors. Again, this channel, we like to share, connect around a metal building. That's what this channel is about. And so we'd love to hear your opinion. And again, I want to thank Jean for giving me your experience.
All the way to New York, Jean.
All the way to New York. And so, again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We got a lot of cool projects coming up. We got a lot of them just kind of stored there. We haven't posted them more because our projects take, you know, time. Some projects take 3 to 6 months. Some projects take a month to 2 months.
Less than a month.
Yeah, they're coming up. They're in line. So don't forget to subscribe. You're gonna enjoy these projects. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye.